Oh, welcome back to another wonderful episode of Waking the People. I am your host, Sir Chad Everett Brochures, and I am accompanied by my dastardly good looking, handsome co host, Joshua, your patriot, my Kraken McClendon. Now, with that, Joshua, we got a couple things to talk about today, but I'll let you kind of break the ice with everybody, and then we'll jump into our topics.
Good evening, our loyal patriots and our faithful subscribers. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Waking the People. If you have not done yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for Chad and I. That really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. It allows more people to see our content. Actually, we had some comments on the last video we had, so we appreciate that. And if you have not left a comment, or maybe there's a topic you want to talk about, please feel free to pound in that comment so we can bring it up in our videos. We really enjoy that subscriber feedback. With that being said, yeah, we got some elephants in the room, Chad, that we got to talk about. Some that I'm not really looking forward to talking about, but we had a comment, and I feel like I must address this issue because it's something we have talked about for a long time on this show, at least the past couple months, and I feel an obligation to voice my opinion on that. So what about you, Chad? What you got? Do you want me to go ahead and jump into it, or what do you think?
Well, two topics three of them I'm going to do, but we're going to cross over on one of them specifically. We're going to talk about the Dershowin case. That's going to be a crossover subject that both of us are going to talk about. And we're going to talk about the knife-wielding Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old girl that was recently shot in Ohio, and Adam Toledo, which is the 13-year-old boy that was shot last week while evading the police with a firearm. So we're going to talk, those two are going to be my main subjects. This is a special edition episode for the show because Papa Bear is on vacation, doing a staycation, actually, because I'm a cool, hip Gen X that apparently is going to be a millennial up in here. But anyway, I ain't going out like no. With that being said, Joshua is going to do a little bit of a recap on the what was it, Askren
and Paul fight, yeah,
and Paul fight. Room. I didn't watch the fight, so I'm going to be hearing it from you. Although I know the outcome, I just don't know much of the details around it.
You didn't watch it at all? You didn't even watch the or it's not really that long, so the highlight, it kind of is the fight. But did you watch the fight on YouTube at all?
Man, I'm on freaking vacation. What are you talking about?
True. That's true. Okay, well, I feel I need to clear the air. So Saturday, April 17th, was the Ben Askren versus Jake Paul fight, something that I personally have been hyping up for the past 2 months. I guess it kind of worked. I mean, I talked to people in kind of my friend group that actually watched the event that I had no clue were even interested in, but maybe I played a little bit of a role of pushing them in that direction to order that fight. If that's the case, Triller, I need a commission check. I feel like I earned at least something because I definitely hyped this up pretty bad. But Triller also, the whole event, Chad, it was kind of a shit show. I mean, it was, first of all, we were going to go watch it at Wing House. And I called Wing House like on Monday, right? And I was like, are you guys showing the Ben Askren Jake Paul fight? And they're like, oh yeah, definitely. So Saturday rolls around, I got to do my due diligence and make sure that the place I'm going to is still showing the event. So I call Wing House back just to double check. And they're like, oh yeah, we're actually not showing it. And I was like, okay, that's not good. So the whole show was kind of like, you had to be 21 years or older to watch it, that's why Wing House decided not to show it. But like there was like one fight, right? And the Snoop Dogg is a commentator, which he's, kind of hilarious. And then we have like kind of these guys that I've never even heard of. And everybody's like drinking and smoking weed. And like, so the first fight comes on and it's like, kind of entertaining. It was decent, right? Fight ends. And then we have like a slap box contest, Chad. I mean, like literally they like did this jump over to these two videos having like a who can knock each other out first with the slap. And then we have like 3 hours worth of concerts. I'm not kidding. Like Justin Bieber performed, by the way, like he sounded terrible. Like auto-tune is his best friend. Then we had, what's her name? Doge Cat or D Cat, that one rapper. She was there. She was twerking all over the place. And it was just a complete, so literally, Chad, the fight ended at like 2 in the morning. And we had to sit through all of this just to get to the main event. Main event, Jake Paul destroyed Ben Askren, and actually really it kind of hurt my feelings. I'm a big Ben Askren fan, so I really wanted him to do well, even though boxing kind of isn't his venture, you know. But yeah, so there was a couple of things to take away from it. 1.4 million pay-per-view sales. That's pretty crazy. I mean, that's not all-time record, but for someone who's a YouTuber and that's their second fight, you have to give Jake Paul some kind of respect for, being able to draw that kind of crowd. I mean, $65 million in total revenue, I guess, just from the whole event. The referees were a little sketchy. I thought that they stopped the fight kind of early. Maybe, Chad, you can go back and watch and you can kind of decide what you think. I think Ben had a little bit more in him. I feel like it was a little bit premature. But with that being said, I guess we're just going to have to see what happens next. If you have not checked the fight out, maybe go watch it on YouTube and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But overall, I would rate Triller's first event as like a C-. It was really bad. I'm only giving it a C- because Ben Askren was on the show. Had it been someone else, I would have rated like a F-. It was just, it was not good. So hopefully the next one's decent.
There's so much there, and I missed so many opportunities to throw in a nice little joke here and there. But from what I heard about the show, what I heard about the fight, is I really think it's better to call it a show than a fight.
Absolutely.
I have watched some things, but I didn't watch it because I got, I got you for that. So I will give, Jake Paul a little bit of credit at the fact that, this is not his profession. And he's out there just fighting. So, who was it? Beaver said that he wanted to fight. Who the hell did he say that he wanted to fight? I forgot who it was.
Somebody?
Huh?
Bieber wanted to fight somebody on Triller?
No, this is about 2 years ago.
Oh,
Bieber,
yeah.
I'd fight that guy in MMA style, like go in the cage with him or whatever. And I'm like, dude, they would beat your baby ass up. Okay. So first off, yeah, you get smacked around, little man. Secondly, I did hear that it was more of a concert than it was a fight. And I mean, there were people that were talking about like women walking around in nothing but fishnet suits, and then spreading parts of their body in a way that, yeah, if you're not at least over 18, you probably have only really come across it whenever you lie to Pornhub about your age. But yeah, I heard it was pretty bad overall. And a slap fight, like who can knock each other out with a slap? Dude, who put this together, man? It's like, was it put together like a flea market or something? What the hell's going on with it? Like it's a hodgepodge of just crap, man.
It wasn't
like, stack
even,
it.
Like the slap fight, Chad, is something they recorded. You could tell it wasn't in the same building. They recorded this like weeks ago, and they just felt the need because we already were like 2.5 hours past the first fight that, hey, let's throw in this slap box event that we recorded like 2 weeks ago.
It's like, I will slap the COVID out of your ass. I'm gonna slap the vaccine into you. What the hell? I've watched the smack fights before, and I'm just like, when I watch it, I'm like, man, it's just, this is what we've become. We've got the opportunity. If we really put the effort in, we could probably have a hover car, and like, if we really put the work into it. And here we are. We're doing booty shaking and face slapping contests. I've never liked twerking myself because immediately it always seemed to conflict with everybody's like issues in dating. They only want me for my body, or they only want me for some aspect or attribute about me. Oh, she only wants me for my money. How'd you pick her up? Oh, you were talking about your car the whole time and how much money you have, even though you live with your parents. Well, oh, okay, or wherever. Maybe you don't live with your parents, but still. Point of it is the dating scene has so many contradictions built into it and I bring up the dating scene because why the hell would you have people out there twerking? Why the hell would it be like this, just like block party instead of like a fight? Like, right? It's like, hey man, we can fit in a little bit we got some extra downtime. Let's throw that recording of that Canadian dude smacking the shit out of that guy from Nebraska. Oh yeah, don't get the one with the truck driver. That one's gonna be awesome. Oh yeah, over the top. Yeah, Stallone. That's a reference that nearly nobody on here is going to get because you're not as old as I am. I'm a pepper gray right there in that beard. All right. So as far as it goes, I think that it was from what I know about it, it was an absolute shit show. But I wouldn't take a lot of joy out of watching the twerking without having a sensation of cognitive dissonance. taking place because, you know, I appreciate dancing, but if your dancing is associated with drawing in the best possible mate or partner, and then you're going to ridicule that person over the attribute you used as your way of getting them involved in your life, it kind of mixed signals there. So I got a little bit of a gripe with that. So the long story short, I don't take as much pleasure in twerking and all the rest of that stuff as what some guys do and watch it. And they're all like, yeah, all whatever. I'm not into it like that. I'm like, damn, you can see that PhD shaking right off that booty cheek. No, man, I don't care. It's not something that appeals to me. So they've just condensed this into a block party that you pay to get into. And I'm going to slap the COVID off that tongue. No wonder you can't taste and smell shit. You got smacked so goddamn hard.
I mean, it just plays into like our world, like you said. I mean, it's, you know, you're a Renaissance man, Chad. That's why you don't like, you know, the twerking. Nothing wrong with a little twerking, but when I order a fight, I want to see two people punch each other in the face. Sorry, like I like the competition, the adrenaline. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Justin Bieber, you know, at karaoke night at mixers down the street. You know what I mean? I want to see some fighting. But but like as far as just in general, like OnlyFans, right? We got this whole new little website to where if you know, if there are a lot of people that find you attractive, you can just create your own OnlyFans account on your Instagram and people can pay to see you post whatever photo or videos that you want. So like those days of worrying about, you know, what if I'm being too scandalous, Chad, they're dying rapidly. I mean, it's like Rolls Royce stock. It's just plummeting. You know, yeah.
Could you imagine being an employer? And it's like the year is 2024. And the employer has to ask, how many OnlyFans do you have? How many videos are you in where you're running from the cops? You know, because we have an acceptable tolerance range. And you can, on average, we're not going to judge negatively against you if you have 3 OnlyFans accounts. You know, it's okay. It's fine. You know, or if you've been, you know, you've got 5 felonies from running from the cops. It's cool. It's cool. Look, we don't judge like that around here. You got to have 10 before we're really worried about it. You know, it's like, imagine what what employers are going to have to do with all of this at some point in time. Is they are using social credit scores, but they don't use them in the way that we've been educated about the way China does it. They use it in a way that they will go online, they'll find out where your presence is, and then they will look at your content to find out if you're a good fit. Many, many, many companies do this. The previous company that I worked with recently, they do it all the damn time. So they'll go on there, they'll find out what your background's like. They do every bit of due diligence they possibly can before they actually bring you on. So we got all these people throwing this stuff out there. You know, it's like, is the day of business the way that we've known it up until 2021? Is it now dead? Or will it be dead because we won't be able to find employees? You know, it's a pretty interesting like shift of paradigm, if you will. So, you know what? My name's Chad, and this is my calling card.
OnlyFans at Chad, Sir Chad Everett Broshears. You had to create a
That's
new
right.
account. Last one.
Don't make us go into a slapping contest. All right.
But, you know, on a different note, we did have some, you know, a more serious situation that finally came to an end this week, and that was the George Floyd case. What's his first name, Chad? Is it
Derek Chauvin.
Derek Chavez. So that case finally came to an end. Chavez, whatever the hell his name is. Thank goodness it's over. You know? You'll never have to hear from him again. But how long did it take? Was it like it wasn't that long? I think it was like 11 weeks. No,
it was pretty quick overall.
Yeah,
I don't know the exact time frame or how long the case went on or the trial. But no, yeah. So there's a lot that happened during that trial. I mean, a lot. You know, before I get into some of the outcome of it, because this is some of the stuff that I've been looking in. Because even though again I'm on vacation this week, it's a kind of a passive working vacation. So with that, yeah, the case is the verdict is in. The jury is done with their deliberations. They've casted their verdict. So yeah, we have. Do you have anything before we get to the verdict?
No, I mean, so I guess he was found guilty on all 3 counts, right? That was one count was like second-degree murder,
Second degree, third degree, and manslaughter.
Manslaughter, yeah.
Yeah. So the overall is, as I mentioned on my social media accounts and everything else, is one thing is we cannot ever allow a individual, a citizen that is not involved with the trial, a politician of any sort, from the president down, it doesn't matter. They should not ever intervene in any way with a trial like this. So we have Biden making his somewhat ambiguous statements about it. We have Maxine, what's her last name? No, it's Maxine Sharpton. Maxine Sharpton, like Al Sharpton's wife.
Is that who it
Apparently
is?
that's, no, it's not really his wife. I mean, she just acts like she's Al Sharpton by going around race baiting and trying to just stir up hate and anger.
Nothing anyway.
Yeah, she's a representative in California, and she flew in to go and rile up the crowd and demand that we see justice and that we see him guilty on all accounts. She wants him guilty for first-degree murder, which means death penalty. So she's not on the jury. She's not in the legal system in that state. She has nothing to do with it. She's over there calling for violence. Her statement, whenever being being interviewed by some of the reporters that were talking to her, Black Lives Advocate predominantly, and those kinds of individuals that were talking to her, she said that they need to stay in the streets and they need to be more confrontational if they don't get the verdict that they want to see. Now, how the hell, the jury was not sequestered throughout the entire trial. They had access to find things out on the outside of the trial. They were instructed not to do it, but they had access to do it. Prior to the trial, the Floyd family were paid out multi-million dollars by the state. Actually, I'm sorry, by the city. Then we had the police chief, which was part of the trial. There was all the things that did happen with the trial overall, but on the outside of it, we've got Biden saying that, he's praying that they get the right thing, because to him, the evidence is was beyond reason. It was all of this stuff going on, and they're weighing in on things that our judicial system works the way that it does and tries to keep the most purest opportunities so that we do everything we can to try to prevent innocent people from going to jail and guilty people from getting away. We do everything we can. And to me, everything that happened in this should end up in a mistrial. His appeal should be granted very quickly. It's just all fear. So did he do some things that are wrong? From what I watched out of all of the trial footage, I'm not watching it from the news and letting them cut and edit and take the breaks whenever they feel right to do it. I didn't do that. I watched as much of the pure video footage as I possibly could get. And I can tell you that the media slanted it so that it made the defense look silly. It made them look weak, as if they didn't have a case. And it made the prosecution look like they had a solid case. But if you watch the whole thing, it was actually the other way around. The defense did a really good job, and the state did a really poor job. Most of their witnesses ended up making the defense look even better. So there were several witnesses that were for the state that actually talked about the fact that he actually used far less force than what he was permitted to do. So he took the least lethal option overall. So as far as the use of force, that was proven that he used the least amount of force that he could use. He didn't use any additional force, and he had the right to do it based off of the escalation of force against resistance. So there's a metrics that they use in order to justify action. So pain, compliance, things like that. There's levels of escalation so that it stays within, so it doesn't violate citizens as well as it protects cops. So all of this stuff going on. And then we have this lunatic, Maxine Sharpton Waters, out there trying to stir people up so that they get more confrontational. Right after she did that, 2 National Guardsmen were shot at, both injured, not by from what the bullet hit, not from the bullet. As far as what I found so far in the research, I have not heard of a whole lot of National Guards being involved other than just keeping the peace. And the majority of these peaceful protesters, now they're being referred to, because the media is such a fuck show, such a freak show of idiots. No, it's a cascade of, it's a calamity of nonsense. But so now they're calling them marchers. instead of peaceful protesters, because peaceful protesters have now turned into people that'll burn your house down. So they've got to change it over to marchers, because people are getting wise to the fact when you say peaceful protesters that there's going to be violence, damage, and destruction. Oh, so now they're marchers. Marchers are the ones that went in and destroyed an Apple store and 2 Starbucks.
Right.
Oh, they're just marching.
They're marching around. Yeah, I mean, I'll give my take on it. So to me, excuse me. There, to me, I feel like that the right conclusion was made, and that, you know, whether or not there be some circumstantial evidence, just based on what I know about, you know, wrestling and jiu-jitsu and how to put my weight on someone, with all the other circumstances being said, I still think that there was some definitely deliberate action that this guy did, and I found that he was definitely at fault, and I'm happy for the outcome of the case. Now, with the Waters incident, to me, what it says is, even though I'm you know, happy with the outcome, it still doesn't mean that we can't be running around doing these double standards. I mean, pretty much what she did is exactly what they said Trump did with the, you know, the Capitol incident. So, you know, this whole, you know, he what was the wording they kept using? He incited a riot, right? You know, stay on the streets and be more, you know, be more intimidating is what this lady said. That's inciting riot. That's inciting riot-like behavior, not, you know, peaceful protesting. So the double standards got to stop. And the fact that some cases get more attention than other cases also kind of grinds my gears a little bit, even though this case it was very important, and I think it was definitely a need for it to be televised. I feel like there's a lot of cases, you know, for example, the Epstein investigation with what's his girl's name? Yeah. So
No,
we
we
haven't
don't
heard
want to
anything
watch
about
any of that.
No, none of the Maxwell case, you know, his girlfriend that's going on. We haven't seen any information about that. And I feel like, you know, just in my opinion, that, you know, minors being trafficked sexually I want to see justice, right? It's important to me. I don't care who was involved. And we all know with the shady stuff as far as who Epstein was involved with. And, you know, I want to see justice served no matter who is in the predicament, no matter their level of status they have. I just want to see it.
Yeah. Well, I really want to see justice all the way around. And we definitely disagree on the way that the trial ended by the verdict, but that's also part of the beauty about our judicial system. If there's positions to actually overturn it, then I want to see every step taken. Uh, I have seen major influencers, which, by the way, at this point in time, if you guys haven't caught on, a lot of the way to get real grassroots knowledge and news is to find people like us, as well as other influencers that are doing this, that's growing into this title of alt media or alt news, which is just that we're alternative to the mainstream. Just because mainstream really has become so biased and so dishonest overall. I absolutely despise mainstream media. And if somebody's like, well, you're probably just one of those Fox fans, I don't like Fox either. So you can shove that right up your kisser. So
yeah. Fox is horrible.
Yeah, they are. Now there's a couple of their personalities that I like. Tucker Carlson, I like him. I think that he does a fairly good job. Do I 100% am I sycophant or some sort of fanboy? Hell no. You can cram that up your keister too if you think that I am, because I'm not. Although I do like some of the, or a good deal of his work. There's times that I'm sitting there going, Tucker, you're better than this, man. Or you just lost credibility with me. I've done that. I can't say there's anybody on the other side that I'm like, yeah, they're actually pretty good. No, I don't see any equivalent to Tucker Carlson in mainstream media. Hannity's fairly good too overall. But again, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care for Fox. I think Fox sucks. And you had mentioned earlier, they called the fight too soon between Askren and Paul. And immediately I thought, yeah, like Fox calling Arizona way too soon. There's plenty of fight left, but fuck Fox. Anyway, right. Yeah, fake ass news.
That guy was
so when people want to throw that in, I'm against all mainstream media. What I use it for is I want to understand what I'm going to be dealing with when I'm talking to other people that are educated by mainstream media. The fastest way to find out if they're educated by mainstream media is you look for the keywords, the hot topics, the verbiage that you constantly hear from mainstream media. And as soon as you hear that show up in the argument, it's almost certain that they have been taught through mainstream media. And they don't do it so that they give you the news so that it's unbiased. CNN's the trusted name in news. My ass, they are. They fabricate all kinds of shit. Look into Project Veritas. They have so many videos of exposing CNN. It's insane. By the way, if people are like, well, what about the Wall Street? What is that? The New York Times. New York Times is a rag. It's a piece of shit. They lie about everything. Everything. They used to be honest back when integrity had a value and a definition to these people. Yeah, it's a long time past. So, and the New York Post, I actually liked some of their stuff for a period of time. Yeah, they're slipping too. And I don't forget that crap easy. So whenever I see something that affects their credibility, it makes me go, damn, guys, your integrity slipped. I don't immediately forget the next day and start over and say, oh, they're going to be honest now. No, not doing it. So all of that, when you get educated by the media, especially mainstream, or let's call it corporate media, because that's pretty much what they are, may as well throw a freaking like the NASCAR jackets on them so we know who's paying them. So when you get educated by them, you're getting part of a story, and you become more and more of a useful idiot over time. If that's where you're only focusing what your information is, because those individuals, I talk to them regularly. I find out what they understand about policy, values, those kind of things. And next thing you know, whenever you get to talking to them, they don't even understand the policies they're voting against or for. They're just like, well, yeah, like I heard it often enough on the news. Must be right. So with that, here's why this whole little rant was important. We've had two completely reinvented events that have happened within the last week. We have the 13-year-old boy that was shot in Chicago. You can look him up. You can look both these up. I'm not going to call them out by their full name, but there was a Toledo was the last name of the 13-year-old boy. He was carrying a Glock when he was running from the police officers. He had it in his hands. You can see it in the frame. Now, what the news channel did is, I believe it was MSNBC. They framed it more like an Instagram frame so that it cut off where the kid had the Glock in his hand and his right hand as he started to turn, and he threw it as he raised his hand. It's a split second. If you're in that situation where he could have pointed the gun and shot you and you didn't shoot, you probably like the next one people are grieving over. So if you're the officer in that situation, you would have been in a bad spot. People like to play backseat quarterback against all of this as if they would have actually policed better. Oh, we should have just let him go. You know what that kid was doing? What he was allegedly doing, which there's video and following, and they get all of this stuff down. But again, it's still to protect our own happy asses. Allegedly, what he was doing, do you know what he was doing prior? Allegedly. Mm-hmm. It was around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I believe it was 4 a.m. He was walking down the street with an adult male. They are in it's a small city. It's in a block of a city. And the adult male pulls his gun out and just starts shooting off into the city, in that block. So it's all recorded. The cops were called out for that reason. Whenever they got to the scene, one went one way, which the adult male went one way, and the kid went the other way. Police chased after both. The kid's the one that they ended up catching up with, or the one officer caught up with him, still had the gun in hand. And as he was standing right next to a fence, as he was like, the cop told him to stop and turn. He went to fling the gun like this to his side, but he had it behind him. And he went to do this. The officer didn't know if he was drawing on him or not. It was a split second that he had to make a decision. And whenever he made the decision, he decided to shoot instead of be shot. As no one would have been able to actually discern whether or not the kid was going to fire off a round at him or not. No way. But what they did with the media is they shortened that up so that all you could see is his side, not where his hand was with the gun. So it looks like he raised his hands and it was innocent. It was bullshit. It was all fabricated by the media by editing it. They tried to force this narrative. Cops are bad. So,
which is like
one of the reasons.
Fair. I mean,
what's that?
Like the police officers probably have like one of the hardest jobs. I mean,
oh God, no,
to make those kind of split-second decisions, especially like with the long hours they work. And I really haven't dug too much into this case. This really doesn't pertain to my opinion as far as what happened. It's more so just looking at it from a logical standpoint and saying that police have hard jobs. And yeah. we ask, we trust in them, right, to make these kind of split decisions. And yeah, I couldn't do it. Thank goodness that we have people that could, because probably one of the hardest jobs besides maybe a soldier, if not the hardest job, definitely hardest job as a civilian.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point in time right now, too, it's like one of the last positions that anybody would want to have. Now, it depends on what state you're in. If you're a police officer in the state of Florida, you're probably pretty comfortable to know that you're protected because we still hold the rule of law here. It's now the state is the country of the United States called Florida. Because sadly, there's other states that have fallen into a pseudo version of socialism that's just quickly degrading. But so the reason why all that's important is there are people that say that they should abolish the police, and the police that are staying in these states and in these cities are stupid for doing so. Um, yes, Amanda, this is the story about the Chicago kid. Um, yeah, that one's actually pretty interesting, and they've got a lot more evidence on that, by the way, as far as like he did have a gun with him, and the news just blew that way out of proportion and tried to make the cop look bad. But back to what I was saying here is there are people saying that the police should quit, the police should leave, they should just leave the city, leave the state. They do have a very dangerous job when lawmakers make the laws that they have to that they need to abide by, and then they get made into the villain whenever those laws have some degree of unfair values, or at least people are saying it's unfair, and the cops are the ones right in the center of it. Not, and they completely take away who the lawmakers were that put these laws into effect that came back around to policing the citizens. They just make the person that's actually implementing, I'm sorry, the one that's actually doing the required law behaviors and upholding that law. Sadly, they've got to the point where, oh no, we're not going to look back at the lawmaker that's actually stoking the fires of inequality and division. They're not going to look back at that person who is the one that actually wrote that law that you're blaming the cops for. No, the cops are bad because they're actually enforcing the law. So with the Chicago kid, it's unfortunate the kid died. My question is, are we going to learn a society about this and potentially start looking back at, why is the kid out at 4 o'clock in the morning? Why is he with an adult that's firing a gun off into the city? Why is all this stuff going on? Again, all of this allegedly because the way the legal system likes to work, or at least the litigious side of things. But as far as that goes, there's a lot more details to it, but we'll stop at the outrage and not look at what we could do to try to correct it. People are like, oh, we need to change the laws. Okay, well, let's look at the lawmaker before we look at if you want to look at the law, look at the law. Look at the lawmaker that got that into place first. Because if that person made an unjust law, and then we're going to let them just kind of be nestled into their position, they're typically an elected politician. If we let them nestle themselves in, then we're not going to see any change. All you're going to do is make the people that are trying to make a difference, that are doing what they're told to do out there, the wrong people, the bad people. So that's one step. The other is, why aren't we looking at the parents of these individuals? Why aren't we looking at them and saying, why aren't you parenting this child in a way that the child actually is growing up to be an adjusted citizen of the United States that can actually be a contributing member of the United States? Instead, we've got people out there that are idolizing, gang banging and all the rest of this stuff. I'm not saying that for a fact this kid was doing that, but evidence kind of leads that direction. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, he's out with somebody who fires a gun off, allegedly. And he's up to, gangbanger behaviors and things. There's a lot of evidence on this and videos and things of him. They call him, by the way, his nickname, according to the last article that I read, his nickname is Little Homicide. 13-year-old kid, nickname Little Homicide. Okay. All right. So that's, yeah. But the cop's bad. The cop's the one that we need to go and fight and riot and go crazy over and loot and all the rest of that. It's just justification. What this kind of reminds me of? Do you remember back in the 90s, actually throughout the 90s, whenever people were suing Michael Jackson for allegedly touching their child?
Yes, I actually know that guy too, by the way. Me and him
Which
used to
one?
train together. There was two
There's a bunch
brothers.
of them.
It was Star, and Antoine, or Anton was his name. And he actually used to train at the gym that I used to train at in Peachtree City, Georgia. And he was okay. He wasn't my favorite guy to train with.
He wasn't your favorite.
Nah, he wasn't my favorite to train with. He was kind of one of those guys that you train with that kind of lose their temper a lot and kind of, drama queens and, it was always like a little real cliquey around him. So I didn't really get a good vibe from him.
Yeah.
Not the segue, but yeah, I do have a little experience in that in that realm. And it definitely made me look at the whole incident a lot different. And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way I looked at it, there could have been some truth. And then there were going to be people there were parents that still sent their kids to go stay at Neverland Ranch after the accusations. What does that say about those parents that absolutely they had to have heard about the accusations? Because it was all over the news everywhere, and they still sent their kids. What does that say about them? And also, what does it say about human behavior? Opportunity for a payday. That's how I looked at it. And that's back in the 90s. I was in my teens then. So, and I still looked at it that way too. I'm like, why the hell can't people get this? Like understand that, there's opportunities. They're paying hush money. They don't want it going on in court. They don't want to tarnish their name further. And the next thing you know, we just started lining up. Oh, he did it too. He did it too. And it's like, instead of actually sending it to court where they could actually go through the process of finding out, if it was true or not, Michael Jackson just started stroking checks. So how is that relevant to this? It's not always money that gives people the sense that I need to act out or I need to behave a certain way. Sometimes, like World Star did nothing but a bunch of horrible things for us as people, as a society. Because World Star, like, it made like a 15-minute celebrity of an event that somebody else may have recorded, and you find out somebody's recording you, you start acting out. So that you might get a little bit more of that 15 minutes. Maybe you turn into the freaking gorilla glue girl, fucking whatever, man. It's like people just like, it's not everybody does things for money, but look, catch me outside, girl.
She's balling too.
She's set for life, by the way. She's set for life.
Done.
Dr. Phil, by pointing out the fact that she was this horrendous child that's talking trash to a woman that's 3 times her size in the audience, saying, you don't like the way I act, catch me outside. How about that? I'm going to get freaking sued by her. But anyway, allegedly.
Her OnlyFans, Chad, it made like $1.6 million in 6 hours.
Yeah. Yes. And if that doesn't tell you something that's just creepy too.
Yeah.
I just turned 18, y'all.
So creepy.
Yeah. Fresh 18. Let's do this. God damn.
They were waiting, Chad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So if that doesn't tell you something about these behaviors, so once somebody thinks that they're being watched or that they're going to be able to get clout, or you know what, if I throw a big enough fit, I don't want that speeding ticket, or I don't want whatever, I'm just not going to comply. Like the officer or the military, I believe he was a second sergeant that recently was pulled over. He was in his fatigues. He was in uniform, and the officers were trying to get him out of his vehicle, and he wouldn't comply. And they tried to make it a race thing, not the cops, but the media and the guy that was in the vehicle and all that tried to make it into a race thing, and they were just they pulled him over for a reason. It was a valid reason. They were investigating the situation. He wouldn't get out of the vehicle, and it escalated. So you get things like that, and you wonder why people act out. It's like, I'm just going to act out. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to get pulled over. I don't want to deal with this. You know what? I'm going to record it. Just so I'm recording for my safety, and it's like all this stuff that's selectively edited and all the rest of that stuff, man, it's painting the wrong picture on the wrong group of individuals. So as far as that goes, we have that. And then the media stokes this fire. The media just mainstream media is one of our biggest enemies. They're in bed with the true enemies of the United States. And I'm not like a tinfoil hat wearing guy saying this, I'm saying it because look at what they're doing. They tell part of a story that excites people into states of excited delirium, as I've seen that in person, watch people shift from normal to fucking lunatics because they watch the news. It justifies things that don't actually have justification. It's everything they can do to try to just get the clicks so you get their ad dollars and they can keep their positions. It's entertainment news. It's not news. And that's all they give a shit about. So we have all of this going on, and they're tearing at the fabric of our country. By doing it, they're destroying us. They're dividing us further. We're a country that's divided more now than ever in my life. It's done off of things that I never found as being an issue, but now it's put in my face that it's an issue, and that I have some sort of implicit bias against people, which is complete fucking idiocy. Which, by the way, I have studied the work of the gentleman that wrote the book Blink. He talks about it in there. And he positions every one of his examples that really frame it against certain groups of people that build into the narrative that's being taught in colleges that's dividing people right now. So he lost some credibility with me after reading the book Blink and getting into that implicit bias stuff, because the examples are all set up against, white straight men predominantly, which is sad. Anyway, all right. Do you have anything else to say this before I jump on to the next person? Because this is the other part of my rant.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just funny. Like every topic that we normally discuss always goes back to the media. I mean, every single one. So imagine if we had like a decentralized media platform where you just, if you wanted news, that's what you got. You didn't get opinions. You got the facts that were stated, right? Imagine decentralized, not just media broadcasting, but imagine like decentralized just media outlets. I mean, we know that, Fox is, predominantly Republican, but not really, right? There's always people behind the scenes in both that are, paying this and pulling these strings. They're all involved with one another. So we need complete decentralization of information, and that wherever we get the information, we know it's correct, and they're not opinion-based pieces. They're, factual evidence about whatever event we have at the current time, and they just broadcast that to us to make our own opinion, right? Not try to paint a picture for us to think a certain way, because as we know with technology, that's super, super easy. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of them do it all the time. So we just need decentralization. And, going back to the original topic, it's sad that someone, a 13-year-old kid, took pride, or I guess others, saw him in the sense of little homicide. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, as a 13-year-old, you should be, doing a lot more productive things than creating nicknames for yourself, like, little homicide. So I guess we'll see how that case turns out. But that's all I got on it, Chad.
Yeah, there's the media loves it. As soon as something happens, they get the most adorable photo or the most innocent looking photo they could possibly do or put out there. And what do they end up doing with that is they try to paint it like there's such this massive division. This completely innocent person was gunned down, regardless of what they're doing at the time. And this is who they actually killed, is this innocent like father or this child or whatever. The perfect outline to this is this the 16-year-old girl that was just shot on Tuesday. So here's the situation with this one. The police were called in Ohio to a domestic violence situation. Multiple vehicles or police showed up at the scene. The officer's body camera, which they released very quickly, by the way. The officer's body camera turns on where you see the scene start as soon as he goes to close the door of the vehicle. He's about 13 to maybe 15 feet away from the individuals involved. There is two girls by the car. There's one girl on the sidewalk closer to the officer. And then there's a guy that's kind of sitting off just a little bit to her side. And as the officer's walking up, the 16-year-old girl, who's, by the way, about 230 pounds. So not a little girl by any means. And I'm not fat shaming or anything like that. She was just a big person. So when you see her, you're like, that's not a child. Yes, actually, she is a child. She's just a very big child. Or was anyway. So she walks towards, or she actually lunges towards the girl that's standing on the sidewalk closest to the officer. Again, they're still about 14 or 15 feet from the officer to that girl. She grabs her, pulls her down to the ground, and then goes towards the other girl at the car. At the exact same time she pulls the girl to the ground, the guy that was standing on the other side of the one that was standing on the sidewalk that just got pulled down, he runs over, or he leans in and tries to kick her in the head. Actually doesn't try. He successfully kicks her in the head. All of this takes place in front of the officer. As the girl, the 16-year-old, Micaiah, yeah, I believe it's Micaiah, she lunges at the girl against the car, and you can see very clearly she's pulled a knife out, and she's trying to stab the girl. And that's when the officer opens fire. She's attempting to stab the woman against the car. So now we have politicians and personalities coming out saying, you don't bring a gun to a knife fight. Okay, here's what I have to say about that.
Who said that?
I'll have to figure out, I get the politician's name. It was a politician who said it, but I'll get it. We'll have it on the next episode.
Do they understand what that saying means at all?
Yeah, they're just stupid. That is it, though. They're trying to make a parody, or they're not really trying to make a parody. What they're doing is they're trying to sensationalize against the cops by saying these people they're just having a little knife fight.
Well, it's definitely what they're trying to say, but like,
Yeah.
people, before you talk, like listen to what you're saying. So would you rather the cop have a knife? Like, I don't get where you're going with that statement. This is the stuff. We have people who are literally just out there, to create some kind of clout. Like clout is like the king now. And they say dumb stuff that, maybe if you don't think about fully, yeah, I mean, there's a correlation, right? There's a knife and a gun in this incident. But the meaning of that saying has nothing to do with the incident. And they're just going to use that to kind of create this little synopsis, I guess, in your brain to, create, oh yeah, that's what he's talking about. No, not at all. Yeah. Anyway, continue, Chad.
Yeah, no, but it is, it's kind of like quote mining. When you find a quote you want to use to support your position, and then you use it, whether it's in context or out of context with the author, doesn't matter. It's just supposed to support your narrative, whatever you're trying to teach people, whatever you're trying to show people. That's what she did with that by saying you don't bring a gun to a knife fight. No, it's the other way around. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight. So, but anyway, they're peace officers. Their job is to keep the peace. This 16-year-old girl decided on her own volition to attack two women in the presence of this officer. One, she brandished a knife and tried to stab her to death. It wasn't like, oh, I just want to stick you in the belly, enjoy, and we're going to have tea afterwards and maybe some crumpets. No, she did it in front of the officer too, and the officer fired his gun. But of course the peanut gallery and the quarterback or the backseat quarterbacks are going to come out and try to tell everybody how they should have handled the situation. They're completely wrong. They're fucking idiots. To me, this is how I feel about it. The adults are talking. You need to go sit down and play with your Play-Doh at the table, because this is not a conversation you have value in. If you're going to say that the cop was wrong in this situation, when this girl was trying to kill this other woman, by the video, that's my conclusion. She's trying to fucking kill the other woman. The officer's job is to protect the peace. They're like, well, she's the one that called the cops. I don't give a shit if she's the one that called the cops. I don't care. It doesn't matter who called the cops. The cops were called in on a domestic situation. They came to hold the peace. And as soon as they show up, and I mean it literally, as soon as they showed up, she comes flying out of the goddamn, she goes and tries to attack her. Does she have the right to protect herself? She wasn't being jumped in that. No, Joel, she was not being jumped in that video. The police were there. She attacked the one girl, and then she lunged at the other with a knife. Everybody was standing still. One guy tried to kick the girl on the ground. She was not needing to defend herself. She wasn't in any way needing to defend herself in that situation. The police were there. Everybody was standing there listening to the police. She acted out.
I haven't seen the video, so I'm based off of the information that you're telling me. It's a very simple. If this girl is trying to stab another individual and the officer's there, and it happens in a blink of an eye, it just comes down to that officer has to make that decision at that point. Obviously the end result is either this woman gets stabbed or the woman with the knife gets stopped. So there's no it's unfortunate this stuff happens, and it happens all the time. The media likes to make you think that all of it, like as soon as the news goes off, there's not shootings. There's shootings every day, every single day. And if you're going to cover shootings, let's cover all shootings. But that's a completely different subject. But yeah, it all comes down to having to make split decisions at a split moment, and your decision based off of this information, someone's life was going to get taken, or hopefully, if there was, again, I don't want to backseat, quarterback it, but yeah, that's as simple as that. The officer needed to make a decision in that split second, and if there was a knife present, he had to do what he had to do.
Now, my question.
Yeah, good point, Chad, by the way, real quick, about the calling. If they're saying, oh, well, she called the police. Since when is calling the police an automatic pardon from doing anything wrong? Okay, like there's a lot of cases where the person who calls the police was actually the wrongdoer in the incident. So the fact that she called the police is completely irrelevant. And again, it goes back to what we were just talking about.
Absolutely. So here's my question, because there's another one that came in by my friend Joel. The officer did not give 2.2 seconds of warning before he shot. No drop the weapon or anything. Joel, did you watch the video? So there was not 2.2 seconds left. There was none of that. The girl was in mid stride. She had the knife out. It was going directly at the girl that was against the car. we all want to play backseat quarterback and say, well, this or that. If you watch it, you'll see if you could have made a better decision and let one girl get stabbed, then, you know, you're a different type of person than I am. I wouldn't do that. If that person was in imminent danger, then I wouldn't do it. There was no 2.2 seconds, by the way, Joel. So
Do you have the video, Chad? Can we
I can
screen
get
share
it.
that thing? Yeah, let's screen share that bad boy.
All right, let me get it up here. Oh, wait. Don't want to drop that.
Yeah, it's a shame that this stuff happens, and that should really be the point of the news. That should really be the main, you know, narrative behind showing this stuff is how can we fix this, right? Like, how can we, you know, people are always going to be violent towards one another. Like, human beings are violent creatures. I hate to tell you that, but there's a reason why that 1.4 million people bought a fight that we talked about earlier. It's because humans like to see other humans get, you know, punched in the face. There's a violent essence to us. Now, is that something that we inherit in our genetics? Yeah, possibly. Is that also a product of our environment? Absolutely, right? Because we're more violent now than we ever have been. I mean, we have video games, we have violent movies. There's just constant violence around us. And in a sense, it almost normalizes it to us to where we're just completely immune. And, you know, you see someone get stabbed on TV, you think nothing of it. You just think, oh, well, you know, that's just, they'll be fine. But no, like, this stuff happens in real life all the time.
All right, give me a second here, big guy.
So the sooner we can get to the root of the issue is the better. Now, you know,
Absolutely.
what's wrong with this individual? Did she, you know, was she duressed in some way? Was she mentally unstable? You know, what kind of home was she living in? What was her, you know, she's a 16-year-old, so where are her parents? There's other kind of stuff that we can talk about that get to the root of the problem.
Yeah. There we go. I'm going to take this off of here so y'all can see a little flip around. All right. Now you get this lovely, handsome, dastardly good-looking guy over here, Mr. McClendon. God damn it. If I don't say your first name, it throws me off. All right, here we go. Now, pardon the old school method I'm using here with Facebook Live. Oh, here it goes. Now, mind the
streets of Columbus, Ohio, after a
all
police
that.
officer shot and killed a 16-year-old
Hold
girl.
on.
In an unprecedented move, police have already released body camera video of
Tuesday, showing the chaotic scene leading up to Micaiah Bryant's death. The clip appears to show the 16-year-old chasing someone outside a home.
See
with a
what?
knife.
There
The
she
girl
goes
chased
immediately.
falls to the
So
ground before 4 shots rang out.
We've never been able to release video this fast, but we thought it was important to share with the community, to be transparent about this incident.
Columbus police say they
Show
were
the actual
responding to a
damn video.
911 caller
Right?
who said
That was it.
stab them.
We know
hate all this damn.
this footage.
Well, knowing the media, that probably is it, Chad. How can anyone make any kind of opinion about the event based on that small, blurry video? They should release, if they're going to release it, release full video so everyone can make an accurate synopsis of the event that happened. Don't release these little blurry ones and then, you know, tag it a certain way. Yeah, let people make their own opinions for themselves by showing them the information, at least as well as you can if you're going to broadcast it. This is basic stuff. We just got to hold the media more accountable.
Yeah, this is. I hate how whenever they get a hold of it in the media stream, it's so hard to dig that up.
Of course, because they don't want to. They probably, most of the time, obviously, you know, there's some, I'm sure there's legality issues, right, with showing someone actually being shot on the internet, but also a part of that, I'm sure, plays in anything that gets, you know, broadcast over the, you know, main media channels. Most of the time, you won't really see that video pop up on any platforms because either A, those media outlets own that video and they don't want to release it, or they just don't want to release it in general. But it's definitely not easy to find valuable information anymore. And that goes for all, you know, medias, whether it's YouTube or any media platform, especially in politics. Not so much in other, you know, other realms, but, you know, you definitely have to do your due diligence to make sure that you are finding the accurate information, just not someone's opinion.
All right, let's get you back to that breaking news.
All right, let's get back to it.
Just released moments ago, showing the moment. 16.
She's down here. There he goes. There it is. There's 2.2 seconds there. There's no way.
From Interim Police Chief Michael Woods that
There's no way to actually stop that from happening. From
Oh,
that girl. You just can't stop that in that kind of time period.
It just
I'm
looked like
sorry.
they were all kind of standing around. They were all kind of standing around. It didn't look like, I mean, the girl who was about to get stabbed, the woman in the pink, she was pretty, like, walking pretty casually. Her mannerisms to me did not seem like that she was in very imminent danger. She was walking towards the police officer, and it got kind of blurry there. All of a sudden, there were all these bodies around. So I'd like to see if maybe if that was clipped a little bit. You know, I'm not trying to create any conspiracy theories, but just with human movement, it all kind of got real quick, real fast. And then I guess that woman in the pink was maybe walking towards the officer is what it looked like. And then maybe got behind him, and that's kind of when the skirmish started. But yeah, I didn't see, you know, as far as the jump comments, I didn't really see any of that going on. They all looked like they were, maybe they were beforehand if that comes out in information. But yeah, I think that's just speculation at this point.
Yeah, and I've from the moment whenever, because I'm still looking for that video. I'm not doing it while I'm still on Facebook Live now, just because I don't want people to sit there and watch me shaky hand, moving around, trying to find stuff on YouTube. The full video is where the officer gets out, walks up, and everybody's standing there, and then that girl, the one that tries to stab the other one, she goes, grabs one girl by the hair, pulls her down, and then goes back towards the other girl. The fight was not happening at that moment. So there is a full-blown video, and you're absolutely correct, Joel. Although we see differently because I have had to do tactical training. I've had to do fire brigade training, which is you have to be able to react immediately. I've done martial arts. I know that what it takes whenever it comes to a human being behaving in a certain way, what would everybody feel, or how would everybody feel had that girl actually buried the knife into the other girl? And who would have been to blame? They would have blamed the cop for that too. Now, he didn't do anything to stop her. Now, if she was heading at me with a knife, I would absolutely be unbelievably grateful that she was stopped from stabbing me. Now, there's a whole lot more to all of these things. Obviously, there's a whole lot more to it. Psychology doesn't just give you one perspective. It does have you dig deeper into all of it. With that being said, there is obviously going to be the perspectives that we all have whenever it comes to what we feel has been our upbringing and how we have experienced the world. And then there's going to be the way we infect the narrative into situations like this. So with that being said, I don't see 2.2 seconds. I'm certain that the officers were doing data collection as soon as they got out of the vehicle, like any officer does typically. Whenever they show up at a scene, they try to collect as much data as possible so they know what to do. But if you have to make a decision as soon as you see a knife brandished and immediately lunging at another girl, you got to make a decision. And if that decision is to just sit there and let it happen, which at some point in time, that very well may end up being what happens if we keep treating law enforcement the way that we're doing it. So if that turns into the case, then, you know, so be it. I'm not happy about that. I don't vote for those kind of things. I do vote, and I do position myself to more learn and help people develop themselves, and not be dependent on a state or a nanny state concept to actually develop me. I do abide by the laws that are there. I'm not going to start attacking somebody in front of an officer, no matter how pissed off I've been. And I've actually been through some serious events in front of officers that would leave you with a reason to want to harm somebody physically. And I've yet to do it because I know that the judicial system needs to be what actually does it, as I'll end up taking the negative end of it if I do something to that other person. So I'm not going to go into what I'm necessarily referring to as far as a horrendous event, but it did actually take place in the courthouse, and it had to do with my niece. So if you're not familiar with that, message me on the side. I'm not going to put it out into the world. It's just not something that I really want to get into.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from the, you know,
I want to answer this question real quick because Joel asked me if I thought that I would be shot in this situation. Joel, if I was actually actively trying to stab somebody in front of an officer, I absolutely believe I would be shot. So if you don't think that I would, I've seen a lot of videos, I've watched a lot, I've read a lot. There are on average more, there's more murders or more armed and unarmed white people that are killed by the police. Oh, it's FBI statistics. I'm not making any of those things up. So it's just not publicized. It's not put on CNN. It's not something that really the media gives a damn about. So as far as that goes, yeah, I believe I would have been shot had I been in that situation, although wouldn't put myself in that situation because I don't want to hurt anybody that bad. And what I alluded to a minute ago, that's, again, if you want to know more about it, message me personally or privately. I'll go further into that so you have an understanding of what my tolerance for bullshit is. And even if it gets that deep into emotional state, I still don't attack people. So, but like I said, I'll talk more about it if that's something you want to do. So other than that, it's not a story that I want to share with the world. Something that is still very painful for me. So, and I still did not do anything to the woman that was responsible or the family that was responsible, the family of the woman responsible for what happened. So, all right, with that, I don't have a whole lot else to say because I'm not going to get into a race debate over anything either. It's more of we're looking at just what's black and white about this. And I mean, you know, what is there, what isn't there. So, Joshua, you have anything else on this?
Yeah, I guess it kind of, you know, after hearing a little bit more information, it looks like maybe that the woman with the knife might have pushed that girl into him, because like his camera like went down and all you saw was like that girl. So maybe she was like behind him and she like pushed that girl into him. But then what you definitely do see in plain day is her with the knife in her hand and her wound up at her torso to, you know, to turn, right? So it's, you know, if anyone sees that right there, you can't, first of all, right? Don't think that the officer was thinking about the race of anybody involved. I think that he saw someone with the knife and the other girl was pinned up against the car, and you could tell that she was kind of like in this defenseless position, and he had to make a split decision. The amount of information that goes through your brain, if you've never been in a, you know, like a physical altercation, when you go through an adrenaline dump, you do not have time to think about anything other than what's in front of you. Your brain just can't compute, right? So you have, if you see knife, wind up, girl against the car, you have to make a split decision. You can't, it's simple as that. And you're not going to be able to think, oh, well, I could do this, I could pull for this, I could, you know, you don't have time. You don't. And adrenaline is a powerful drug and it'll knock you on your ass. That whole fight or flight, right? We trust police officers to be able to handle that adrenaline dump and make the best decisions they can in situations like this. And normal people cannot, right? I am not, that was my biggest issue when I was competing, was dealing with adrenaline dumps. And I can only imagine what kind of adrenaline dump that this officer had in that given situation. So we'll see what the details come out, but it can't always be, you know, a race thing. It can't. We can't always do that. Like I don't see, there's two people, there's a bunch of people involved in this, right? I see people out there. The woman that she was attacking was black. So this can't be a race thing, right? I was fearful. At first, it took me a second to try to figure out who was actually the one that was being attacked. And then when you see, because she's in, you know, bright pink, you can see her very easily. It's just like, I was fearful, like, oh God, like imagine being that girl and you're standing there in front of that girl and she's loading up with a knife. I don't want to get stabbed. That does not sound good whatsoever. So, yeah.
No. And this whole like kids do knife fight shit and all that little narrative that's trying to be spun out. Is those types of people, man, we need to make sure we're not voting for those people. If we want to be able to change something, we need to actually look at the whole thing, not just one element of it. So as far as that goes, Joel, I'll absolutely enjoy, you know, a conversation about humanity overall. But whenever we get told by the media what's going on, and we do put perspectives in that place where we say, well, we use color to use an identity, then we need to look at that and say, okay, is it a racial debate or is it a humanity debate overall? We do need to get the distinctions down so that we can have a fruitful conversation, in which I'm certain that with all of our conversations, Joel, we're easy to do, easy to accomplish that. But with that being said, not everybody has the cool, calm, collected ability to sit and talk about something and not lose it. So with this situation, I don't see, the enemy of the state is the media. The one that's actually spinning people up before you actually have all the information. They are part of the problem. They're the ones that are dividing us more and more. Obviously politicians get into that too. So with that, we just need to be mindful of what kind of information we allow into our mind. What kind of, like, where do you spend your time learning? What do you learn from? That kind of thing. That's what we need to spend time doing. Otherwise, we're just going to get into our tribalisms and try to figure out how our teams can beat each other. We're Americans. We need to act like Americans. We need to live together as Americans. And I will tell you this, if I were to ever find out that somebody ever made a threat against my friend Joel, better believe one of the first people that's going to be in his corner. I'd be there as soon as I possibly can, and he'll know it quickly. He's a damn good man. And I'm saying that because we're falling into a different side on this conversation, but it is one that I want everyone to know. If you do read anything or see us go back and forth about this, I love the man that's on the other side of that. I've known him since elementary school. I will say this, Joel, when we do talk about police reform, you can't use vague terminology though. Media may be helping shed some light, but I'll tell you right now, media is destroying what we've worked so hard to create. So they may be shedding light in some places, but it is not continual. It is not absolute. They're doing it for their own benefit. And you and I are the ones that actually have to sit here and talk about the differences between each other when the media is the one stoking a lot of it. Is it true that there's divisions and there's differences that should be there? Yes. There are some things that are there that should be there that we need to talk about so that we can help create a different outcome. But when you say reform, that's something that you're going to have more data on. To say, by what means, by what standard, how do you want to see it? You can't leave it in. We've even got Fluffy over here. Oh, I can't mute you there, big guy. Wow. Log it. No pun intended. But we do need more definition. So what are we going to look to actually do? Is it something that we can sit and we can talk about it and create a light to it? Absolutely. The last thing we need to do is to see the police completely leave these communities. Is if we keep going the way we're going, the only people who are going to be left are going to be the police that are okay with doing bad things. At some point in time, are they there now? Who knows? But I will say that the cops that actually are there to do the right thing and are always there for the good job, they're the ones, they're going to leave, man. Who's going to sit there and be fearful of their freedom by doing their job? So you can only get beat up for so long before you just quit. And if they end up leaving those areas, man, you think if there's a lot of issues right now, the issues are going to go through the roof. It'll be like Mad Max, man. It's going to be the Thunderdome. It's going to be crazy. We're not mature enough as a society to be self-policing. We just don't have it in us. Not yet. Some of us do, not all of us. So with that, I don't have any more topics right now. We did get, what's your dog's name again?
Roxy and Ray. So like this like kid, he must have been like 7, 8 years old. He's banging at my door. I go look at the peephole and there's no one there. My dogs are freaking out. And I had to like reach down to like grab my dog so she didn't run out the door. And I opened the door and I didn't know it was a kid. So we're like at eye level because I'm like reaching down. I'm like, can I help you? And he just ran off. See, this happens to me all the time, Chad, like weird stuff like this. I should probably go.
You're such a charismatic and nice guy.
Right? It's banging on my door. I should probably go out there in a second and check and make sure he's not like lost or something.
Yeah, or something else going on and the kid's just in shock. You never know. Maybe they pulled a Lassie thing.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all that being said, I don't have anything else right now. This is just going to be a shorter video anyway, although it did turn into over an hour. But hold on, one more thing, and then we'll stop.
Just get Joel. Y'all can swap information.
Yeah, no, we're well connected. It's police reform, accountability for use of force, racial profiling, uniform policing, policy, body cam, just to name a few. Well, body cams are predominant through most of them, but if we defund them, you get fewer body cams. You also get less tactical gear. You also get less training. So if we do any kind of defunding, that'll affect that. Accountability for use of force. There's actually there's a tier system that's used in order to justify force use. So they do use specific elements about the situation whenever they show up that justifies specific use of force. And they use that as a way of accountability. So they already are actually doing that. If we need to go further into it, though, we could always bring somebody on that's active in the in a police department. Racial profiling, that can be really individualized as well. We have been talking a bit about racial profiling for a long time, ever since Biden helped draft the 1994 reform bill.
That's actually
No, I
worse than
agree.
this.
We don't need more tanks and we don't need more tactical. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say we don't need more tactical gear. There are some departments that are underfunded. They actually do need some tactical gear. As far as tanks go, if we go back to the 90s, whenever there was the police shootout and all of that, there
yeah,
were
the LA one.
Yeah, the LA police shootout. The officers were drastically they were outgunned by 2 gentlemen.
They had,
Oh,
they had
and
automatic weapons, Chad. They had
they had
automatic assault
they were
rifles. It was like
tearing through
9 in
everything.
the morning.
The officers actually needed to go to gun shops in order to get higher caliber weapons in order to fight these guys that were fully body armor. And that was back in the 90s, the LA shootout. So there are things that I don't disagree with you, Joel, but we do need to itemize and we need to walk through everything. So as far as racial profiling, I didn't vote that piece of crap into office, but he was one of the authors of the 1994 crime bill that actually did push some of the racial profiling. But as far as that goes, there's always going to be the statement that racial profiling is taking place, even whenever it's not, because of its essence being there at some point in time. So that's something that'll just take a lot of time before we can let it kind of die out. But at the same time, though, if it is proven that the person was truly racially profiling, but if you're in activities or doing things that actually do make you more suspicious, then obviously you're more likely to be pulled over or interact with an officer. Like having a tint in your vehicle that's darker than what's legally allowed, that is grounds to be pulled over. Reason for that, there's several reasons why officers will actually have that standard put into place and why there's a law for it. So there are some things. I'm not saying you're wrong by any means, Joel, but I am saying that we do need to dig a little bit deeper. Some of these things, just like the immigration things that were going on, where I went back and forth with somebody on my social media about immigration reform, and every single point that she put out that we need to do, we actually are currently doing, or we were doing during the Trump administration. So everything she pointed out. So she wasn't actually doing anything. She just did, she showed she wasn't researched in it. And I'm not saying that's your case. I am saying that this is something that if we wanted to get deeper into it, by all means we can, but details will absolutely matter. When we find those points where we're like, yeah, absolutely, we should push to have actually have that changed. But every city, every state are not the same. So for us to all be ruled by one uniform stance doesn't always match up either, because certain places do have different standards and different requirements based off of where they are, what they're doing, those kind of things. So, all right, as far as all of that goes, I don't have anything else for the time being, but I do want to say thank you, Joel, for jumping in.
Absolutely, Joel. We like it. I like the other people's opinions. You know, no matter to think what you think. You know, and when the time comes to defend your position, you know, whatever your position may be, you know, do your due diligence, do your research, and you know, just kind of have a really good understanding of what it is that you think. Because a lot of people don't think like that, right? A lot of people just, you know, they get the, you know, the tip of the iceberg, I guess, so to speak, and they, you know, they make their positions based on that. And then when it comes time to defend the positions, it's not really defense. It's more the gaslighting. It's, you know, it's really hard to have really good conversations about anything, not just politics. I mean, the conversation now is a dying art form. And I think that's why podcasts are so attracted to people now, is because with all this technology, we really don't have a lot of face-to-face interaction, at least not to the point where we're used to. And so I feel like, you know, long conversations, very deep, or, you know, just articulated conversations as a whole is really starting to go away.
Yeah, that's one thing that we absolutely have to hold on to, and that is the ability to have a conversation. Because if not, we'll fall into further division into tribal groups. We don't need that. We're Americans. You know, it's called the United States. And the United States is united by citizens. So we need to stay connected and understand where some things would be theoretically nice or hypothetically nice. And then there's other things we really do need to make and take action on. So with that being said, I greatly appreciate, you know, everybody who jumped in. Joel's nice to see you jump in. Haven't seen you in a bit. And as far as your point, and this is the final point, I can't, after this, we got to end the episode, but as far as like believing the hype and the tent and the broken tail lights as excuses for cops to justify their actions. I've absolutely been an experience with that as well. I've been pulled over for tail lights being out. I've been pulled over for having, you know, not having my license plate light. I've been pulled over for a lot of things. I've had cops tear my car apart, saying that they knew I had drugs because I had bloodshot eyes because I worked a 12-hour shift, and then I drove from Orlando to Brooksville, which if you're familiar with the area, it's about a 2-hour, 2.5-hour drive. I'm just absolutely tired, and I had them tear my car apart and put me through, because they said, you look like a stoner. With my damn Taco Bell uniform on when I was 18. I've had guns drawn on me. I've been put in the cop cars because of the friends of mine doing stupid shit. I've gone through a lot too. I'm not saying that my experiences are equal to other people, but at the same time, I'm not coming from a pristine area where, I've never been arrested. I have never been arrested. But to say I've never actually been in the cop car, never brought down to the precinct, things like that, I have. And I agree that there are some times that things are just stupid. They're trumped up. It's bullying. It's bullshit. I get that. But 1 or 2 experiences or 3 or 4 experiences in 20 plus years isn't enough to say that we need to take it apart. But again, if we need to get into itemizing everything and really taking it apart, absolutely, we should be able to evaluate, but we also need to understand how to evaluate for different demographics overall. Rural areas, as far as an example, a rural area versus a city area. And a rural area is an AR-15. Is it justifiable to have? If you've ever had a swarm or a pack of hogs coming after you, you'll understand the benefit and the importance of having an AR-15. But if you live in the city and you've got neighbors that are right on the other side of the wall, and you live in the same type of structure with a bunch of other people, yeah, an AR-15 may not necessarily be something that you can justify having. But if you live out in the country where, coyotes, things like that, so we have to govern based off of the overall need in the area. So I'm with you in going through it. I don't live in Chicago for reasons, for real obvious reasons, in my opinion. But overall, though, at the same time, I don't like the cold weather. It's a windy city, whatever. New York was already bad enough for me when I was there. But overall, though, I will say this. I live where I live because I choose to live here because I love where I live. So as far as that goes, we have to govern things that way. We cannot govern everything in the same way. It doesn't work. I don't want New York's policies or what they need as a policy to affect Florida. Don't New York my Florida, if you will. I love the fact that we're free here. I love the fact that we don't have a mask mandate. I love the fact that the economy here is thriving despite what other states are doing, even for being a tourist economy predominantly, or having a major contribution from tourism. So as far as all that goes, we would have to actually itemize it and go about it that way. We can't say it's across the board the same. As far as body cams go, 100% with that. There were actually Democrats that were trying to get cops not to wear body cams. Just surprising as hell to me. But on the Republican side, predominantly, they support it. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, Joel. But this is the last time we're going to have to get off here. But there are social justice issues of our time. Yes and no. We'd obviously, again, itemize it and actually find out what's true and what's hype. We'd have to go through it to actually understand this. Joel's statement in this last one was we have to go through it. These are the social justice issues of our time. We also have a lot of busybody people that don't have any reason to be there, as far as, bored people that get involved in things. They create a hysteria around certain things. And then you have the true things that really do need to be affected. And then you have the way that people like to exacerbate things. So am I saying that you're wrong? Absolutely not, Joel. I am saying, though, that a lot of people get busy with it. They become busybodies and they don't have something else going on in their life. And they just start, propping certain situations up that they don't have any experience in, and or they have frustration, they want it out, and they use that vehicle as a way of doing that. And it's not fair to real issues. When you have a real issue, it should be dealt with people that have a genuine heart to deal with it, not just people that want to destroy things. So as far as that goes, I'm not dismissing it by any means. We do have some things that we can address, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that are being proposed as solutions that the solution will be far worse than what your complaint is. So if we abolish the cops, not in Florida. Oh God, no. If it's going to happen in another state where they can't respect the police, some states absolutely do have crooked departments. But I'm good with it not happening here. But in the meantime, though, Joel, you and I, we're fighting for the same thing. We just articulate it differently, and we're taking up specific points that we actually find that we really should be taking up. So as far as that goes, I appreciate everybody joining in. Joel, special call out to you, man. I appreciate you jumping on. But the rest of you, it's not that I take anything away. I just haven't talked to my buddy Joel in a while. Joshua, I appreciate you coming on as well, as always, because you're the co-host here. But with that, I don't have anything else to say. I kind of went on a couple of tangents there, but I do want to address a few things. A lot of it was also the excitement of actually seeing my buddy jump up in the chat here. But as far as all that goes, yeah, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else before we jump off, my man?
Not really. I just, excuse me. I just pulled up the incident just to kind of see, but after this, we're going to get off. So we're going to leave it at this. I just found this kind of interesting. So I typed in the incident on Google search to see what information popped up. And so there's, just by looking at it, I got three mainstream, right? 3 mainstream media groups. And I got one kind of alt media group. So the CNN's was Columbus, Ohio shooting, police officer shot and killed a black teenage girl. NPR was Columbus police shot and killed black teenage girl. And the one alt one was, it said the girl's name. And it said that police ID officer who shot and fatally killed a 16-year-old girl holding a knife. So we just got to look at these titles. I mean,
yeah, when you look at it, you can see how bad the media is with a lot of this stuff.
The girl's name, right? She's more than the color of her skin. So use her name, right? Yeah, give me the information. I don't need you to lead me to this conclusion just in the very title. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning on. It seems like all we do is attack the media, but guess what? I don't like to attack people based on their opinions. I feel like everyone should have their own opinion. You don't always have to agree with me, but at the end of the day, I love attacking the media because I feel like they're not doing their job and they're not doing their due diligence to us to be a public educator. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed kind of the last episode. We talked a little bit about, some fights and some other stuff like that. So do expect that in the future. I actually got some feedback, some reaches out as far as they kind of enjoyed that kind of stuff. So we'll make sure that we always throw some crypto in there, maybe some upcoming fights and kind of just different things that go on in all of our, social networks, or so to speak. So have a great Wednesday. It's hump day. We only got a couple more days till the weekend. So stay golden, pony boy, keep your head down and just do your thing, because at the end of the day, just do you, just do you.
Hey, I've been doing me since I was 13, okay? Don't keep coming at me with the short squeeze.
Right?
That's a call out to an old episode there. All right. Yeah, same here. Appreciate you guys checking in. Don't rush my vacation, by the way. All right. We got 3 days left, 2 days left, whatever. You get the hell out of here. All right. We get till next Monday. So the rest of y'all can do whatever you need to do. I'm going to do what I need to do, which is float around in my pool for a bit, have another beer, and relish in the fact that we had some great conversations today, and enjoy the hell out of the remainder of my vacation, even though it's a stay-in vacation. I don't care. I love it. So with that, thanks everybody who jumped on Facebook. Also, for everybody who's going to be commenting in the future, remember, like, share, subscribe, comment by all means. We also will be putting up an email, so you can send us an email here soon with various different things that you'd like to be able to get in touch with us with. So with all that being said, thanks so much for joining in. And until next time, I am your host, Sir Chad Everbroshears, and I am with Joshua, the Kraken, our Patriot, McClendon. And this is Waking the People. All right, till next time, y'all. We're in this together.